No, I don't think so. I think just making sure that I was ready to come in.
The TD Garden in Boston has seen its fair share of basketball greatness. Legends have been made on its hardwood. Championships have been won. History has echoed through those rafters with every bounce of the ball. So for a lifelong basketball fan, especially one who grew up idolizing the Celtics, it's more than just an arena. It's a shrine, and even if you grew up rooting against them, you couldn't help but respect them. The Celtics are one of the premier franchises in basketball history. Their banners speak for themselves. But now, something different was about to unfold under those iconic lights. Something no one could have predicted. A moment where WNBA greatness would step onto the stage of NBA royalty and leave a permanent mark. Caitlin Clark, the sensational rookie from the Indiana Fever, walked into TD Garden not as a visitor, but as a force of nature. Not long ago, she'd been on the wrong end of a brutal headline-making game against the Connecticut Sun, a game remembered more for dirty plays and missed calls than actual basketball. That was June 17th, and tonight,
To get stops and letting that spark our offense has been great, but that's been something we've been working on all season, I think.
Tonight was the sequel. Only this time, the story would be written differently. It wouldn't be remembered for bruises and controversy. No, this one would be about redemption, dominance, and a little bit of magic. The crowd wasn't what you'd expect from a typical WNBA away game. TD Garden had transformed. The announced attendance was 19,156, but it felt like every one of them was wearing red and blue chants of "Let's Go Fever," rang out as if the game was being played in Indiana. Clark had brought her fans with her not just from the Midwest, but from all over the country. They came to see her, and what they got was history. But to understand the stakes, you have to go back to that infamous game. When Caitlin Clark faced the Connecticut Sun in June, the game devolved into chaos. She was eye-poked by Jacy Sheldon, body-checked by Marina Mabrey, and hit with hard fouls that made highlight reels for all the wrong reasons. The officiating non-existent scuffles broke out. Players
Wow, we just got here. I still get my Snapchat memory.
were bloodied. Clark was left bruised and frustrated, and fans were outraged. The officiating crew issued only technicals for the worst infractions, a slap on the wrist that felt more like an insult than justice. It wasn't just physical, it was personal. So when the rematch was announced in Boston, everyone knew this wasn't just another game. This was a statement. The Fever had grown since that last encounter. They weren't just better, they were battle-hardened. And leading the charge was a determined Caitlin Clark, backed by a team that now had something they lacked before. Identity. Clark stepped onto the floor for warm-ups with fire in her eyes. She wasn't here to just compete, she was here to take over, and standing with her was Sophie Cunningham, a player who's embraced her role as enforcer. She wasn't going to let anyone get away with bullying Clark again. The message was clear from the opening tip. We're not the same team. You bullied in June. The Connecticut Sun had a game plan. They wanted to replicate what worked before. Double Clark, press her full court, throw bodies at her, wear her down, and hope the Fever cracked. It was a strategy rooted in physicality. But this time,
Knowing that basketball is a game of runs, and they made their run in that third quarter, and honestly just continue to stay composed.
the ball moved crisply. Screens were solid. Help defense was timely. Most importantly, Caitlin had protection. She didn't have to fight alone anymore. From the opening minutes, the game had a different feel. There was an electricity in the air, an unspoken understanding that history was about to be made, and it started subtly. Clark hit Natasha Howard in stride with a no-look bounce pass that drew ooze from the crowd. Moments later, she found Kelsey Mitchell off a baseline cut for a corner three. Then she ran a high pick-and-roll to perfection. Threading a pass between defenders for an easy layup, she was orchestrating everything. And the Sun couldn't stop her. The stats would eventually tell the story. But in the moment, it was her command of the game that stood out. She controlled the pace. When the Sun tried to trap her, she made them pay with perfect passes. When they backed off, she attacked. And while her shot wasn't falling early, just 4 of 14 from the field and 1 of 7 from
Was that short roll, but going into next year, I think I have a better idea of
deep, she never let it affect her impact. That's what makes her special. She doesn't need to score 30 to take over a game. As the minutes ticked down, the Fever's offense found its rhythm. Kelsey Mitchell caught fire, scoring 20 points on deadly efficiency. With Clark feeding her the ball in perfect rhythm, Mitchell found space to operate and punished the Suns' defense. Natasha Howard, meanwhile, dominated the paint. She finished with 18 points and 13 rebounds, cleaning up the glass and finishing strong around the rim. Then there was Sophie Cunningham, the spark plug, the glue. She drained 2 critical three-pointers and brought relentless energy on defense. Every time the Fever needed a jolt, she delivered. Even Aaliyah Boston, despite struggling from the field, contributed with assists, screens, and crucial rebounds. This was the version of Indiana fans had been waiting for. Balanced, poised, united. And yet, the story kept building. As Indiana pushed ahead late in the fourth quarter, Caitlin Clark quietly
She's one of the main leaders inside our locker room, if not the leader in our locker room, and she's the constant voice. And
started to do something unthinkable. She was on the verge of not one, not two, but three historic records. First, she dished her 9th assist of the night. That brought her to 450 career assists, faster than any player in WNBA history. She did it in just 53 games, shattering the previous record by 9. The crowd didn't know it yet, neither did the broadcasters. But the books were being rewritten. Next came her 150th career three-pointer. Again, the fastest to ever reach that milestone. It was the kind of record that speaks volumes, not just about her volume shooting, but her range, her courage, her readiness to rise to the moment. And finally, the third record. Her 40th straight game with at least 5 assists. A record of consistency. A record that proves she's not just a scorer or a shooter, she's a playmaker of the highest order. But even as those records fell in the background, the final moments of the game were what defined the night. With 5 minutes left, the Connecticut Sun were still within.
it's going to be really special to be able to do it here in this city, and I think, there's already been so much time and effort put in.
Striking distance. The Fever led by only 6. And that's when Clark, with every eye in the building on her, took over. She outscored the entire Sun team by herself in the final 5 minutes. Think about that. One player, 5 minutes. More points than the entire opposing team. She slashed to the rim. She pulled up in transition. She found teammates with pinpoint passes and then drained the dagger that sealed the game. It was breathtaking. It was dominant. It was historic. But as the crowd stood to cheer, something went wrong. With just under a minute left, Clark made a beautiful backdoor pass to Kelsey Mitchell, who laid it in. But immediately afterward, Caitlin grabbed at her right leg. Her face contorted. She hunched forward, and the moment that had been pure joy seconds earlier turned to pure dread. She was hurt. Cameras zoomed in on the bench. Clark sat with a towel draped over her head, eyes welling up with tears. She was holding her groin, the same area that had been bothering her earlier in the season. The same injury.
Game, especially when we're on the road, and there's a lot of people that maybe this is their first time getting to see us play.
That had sidelined her before. Now it was back. And this time it looked worse. The crowd fell silent. Teammates stood by, trying not to panic. Coach Stephanie White gave a short post-game update, saying Clark felt something in her groin and would be evaluated. But you could see it on Caitlin's face. She knew it wasn't good. Just days away from All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis, her home state, Clark's status suddenly hung in the balance. She was set to participate in the three-point contest. She was a captain for the All-Star game. Fans had voted her in with record numbers. This weekend was supposed to be her coronation, and now it might not happen at all. Groin injuries are unpredictable. They linger, they flare up. Even with rest, they don't always heal properly. And for a player like Clark, whose game depends on quick cuts, sharp changes of direction, and burst speed, the injury is particularly concerning. The emotional weight was obvious. This wasn't just a pulled muscle. It was a cruel twist in what had been a perfect night.
The arena they play in certainly helps them every single night too. That place is as loud as,
She had just led her team to their 3rd straight win. She had broken 3 records. She had silenced critics, lifted a franchise, and electrified one of basketball's most hallowed arenas. And now, she was in tears. That's the beauty and brutality of professional sports. 1 minute, you're on top of the world. The next, you're clutching your leg, unsure of what comes next. But if there's one thing we've learned about Caitlin Clark, it's that she doesn't stay down for long. She's a fighter, a leader. And no matter what this injury means for her immediate future, she's already etched her name into basketball history. And the Fever, they just proved they're not just along for the ride. They're built to win. Let's all wish Caitlin a speedy recovery. Because the WNBA needs her. Basketball needs her. And fans everywhere, whether you're in Indiana, Boston, or watching from across the world, are rooting for her. To get back on the court, drop a comment below if you've got the fever. Like this video, subscribe for updates, and turn on those notifications because this story is far from over.